Global Finance, Topic 8C, using credit default swaps, CDSs, to hedge sovereign risk of covered interest arbitrage strategies. Copyright Lou Gaddis. The objective is to see how you use a CDS to hedge the sovereign risk of a covered interest arbitrage. We'll look at a strategy with no CDS, identify the risk, and then see how CDS is used to reduce the risk. So remember, a covered interest arbitrage strategy is either borrowing in dollars or borrowing in foreign currency. If I borrow in foreign currency, say the yen carry trade, I'll borrow yen, buy dollars, and buy a U.S. Treasury. If I borrow U.S. and borrow U.S., then sell the domestic currency, the dollar, and buy a foreign currency, and then buy a foreign bond, I could get into significant risks of holding a bond that may be riskier than the U.S. So this strategy here, in which I borrow dollars and invest in a foreign bond, if this foreign bond has what we call sovereign risk, or significant sovereign risk, that causes difficulty. So here's an example coming up of a strategy in which I'm going to buy an Indian rupee bond by borrowing dollars, and we're going to show a profit, but we're worried that the profit is due to sovereign risk. But we can try to eliminate that sovereign risk by entering into a contract that reduces it, and that's what a credit default swap is. A credit default swap is an insurance contract. It's an insurance contract to insure the payments of a bond. So, the cost of the insurance, like any other insurance product you may ever paid, is paid periodically over the life of a bond. So, for example, you could buy a foreign bond or even a corporate bond, and someone may quote to you that for 50 basis points a year of par, I'll ensure that bond makes all its payments. Once you have a CDS on a bond, you're going to say buy the bond, collect the interest from the bond issuer, and then you have a CDS contract. You're going to pay the CDS issuer a premium. Then you truly have a risk-free investment. So, example, a one-year sovereign CDS on Thai sovereign debt is quoted at 40 to 50 basis points. And what that is, it's 40 basis points bid, 50 basis points ask. We're always going to use the ask for CDSs, meaning that if I want to buy a CDS to insure a Thai bond, I will pay 50 basis points. Now, if I wanted to insure a Thai bond, I could receive 40 basis points. So we're always going to deal with this higher number. So what that means is the cost to insure a Thai bond is 50 basis points per year of the par amount of the bond. So say the Thai bond offers, say, 4.5% per year. All right, so I give 1,000 Thai baht and get 4.5%. If I buy a CDS, I'll give up half of that percent. So what I get is basically a hedged risk-free rate of return on a Thai bond of 4%. In other words, I get a contractual 4.5% from the government, and then I pay a third party, some bank most likely, 50 basis points to ensure that this gets paid. So effectively, I then get a 4% hedged risk-free investment. So here's an example of a CIA covered interest arbitrage with a credit default swap. So the first example up here is with no credit default swap. So here's an example where we're going to borrow $1,000 and buy rupees and invest in a rupee bond. So the cost of that investment is I'm going to borrow $1,000 at U.S. interest rates of 4.9875%. So I am going to effectively borrow money, or $1,000, and pay back $1,049. I'm then going to take $1,000, so the revenue of this strategy is I'm going to take my $1,000, and the first thing I'm going to do is buy rupee. My rupee per dollar exchange rate is 86.01, so I get 86,000 rupees. I invest those rupees at 9.44. So that's going to give me 90-some thousand rupees next year. I'm then going to convert this rupee investment. So this is the proceeds from the rupee bond. All right, so these are in rupees. So I'm going to also enter into a forward contract to convert it back to dollars. Now, what I'm looking for here is the forward price. Well, when I go to sell the dollars, I'm going to get hurt a little bit on the forward price. So my forward price is 88.12. That's the forward market. That's the ask price. You can see the bid price is 88.01. All right. Oh, by the way, we should notice that the reason why we use the 86.01 is when we sell dollars to buy rupees, we're going to, due to the bid-ask spread, we're going to wind up getting the bid in the spot. But then when we go and enter into a contract to sell the rupees forward to get dollars, we also get the lowest amount too. So it's the lowest dollar per rupee exchange rate, which is 1 over the highest. So this strategy is going to yield a profit of about $18. All right, when I work through my cost and my proceeds. Now, this profit of $18.32 for every $1,000 borrowed is not necessarily what I consider true arbitrage. It's arbitrage in the sense that the forward exchange rate is hedged. So there's no exchange rate risk at that point. But there is risk that this bond that we just bought at 944 defaults. So the way we handle that is we can enter into a credit default swap and say the CDS market is 218.257 for 1 year sovereign in Pakistan. So we would just take this equation we just did up here, and instead of multiplying times 1.0944, we'd subtract, before we do that, the 257. All right, so all I'm going to do is make one little substitution in this equation. I'm not going to get 944 on my investment on the bond. I'm going to get 944, but I'm going to simultaneously enter into a contract to say to give up 257 of that 944 interest to guarantee that that bond gets paid. So once you add this adjustment and reduce your interest by your CDS cost, you then realize that, oh my God, I actually lose money in this strategy. So by hedging both the exchange rate risk and the sovereign risk, there is no arbitrage. What appeared to be arbitrage was simply sovereign risk. Once I got rid of the sovereign risk, it looks like these bid-ask spreads have kind of eaten all my profit away, and there's just no arbitrage to be made. So that's a covered interest arbitrage with a CDS, using a CDS to hedge sovereign risk.